Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission for Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. Roll call, please.
Yes, Madam Chair. Good morning. Roll. Ms. Allen.
Present.
Mr. Foster.
Present.
Hanson is absent. Ms. McSwain.
Present.
Mr. Peterman. Here. Rice is absent. And Barron.
Here.
Here we have a quorum.
Thank you. Before you have the minute of the April 23rd regular meeting. Are there any updates that need to be adjusted? Hearing none, I need
The Southgate Annex portion of the report, which says Captain Benton, actually Captain Benton,
okay.
Enton.
Thank you, Councilman.
Hey, we can make that correction. Thank you, Councilman Hugel, catching that. We would be hearing no other.
Yeah, hearing no other amendments.
I move that the minutes be approved with the recommended correction.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Barron.
Yes.
Foster.
Yes.
Hanson is absent. Ms. McSwain.
Yes.
Mr. Rice is absent. Mr. Peterman. And Ms. Allen.
Yes.
Here the items adopted by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Old business. Port of Virginia update. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
This morning, Chris.
Good morning. Yes, good to be here in Portsmouth. Beautiful sunny morning. The rain has left. So, just give a quick update. Just for awareness, obviously as a result of, the bridge collapse there in Baltimore, April, we did see an uptick in our volumes, approximately 25%, year over year over the past April. The volumes now have begun to sort of matriculate back up to the Port of Baltimore, as you know, we've always stated, and that would happen once the vessel was refloated and the bridge structure cleared out of the channel, that operations would resume back there in Baltimore, which has subsequently pretty much happened at this point. And we've begun to see, obviously some of those vessel services that were maybe not calling here previously and began to call here just as a result of bridge collapse, our return, or even in most cases, what will end up happening is those vessels that had called Virginia and Baltimore will continue to do that, and that freight that was being discharged here in Virginia will obviously remain on those ships as they go back to call the Port of Baltimore. But I would say, again, it's a testament to the resiliency of the operation the port has built, both at Virginia National Gateway and over at NIT, and that operationally we didn't have any, I would say, dramatic negative impacts as a result of the uptick in business. It was sort of a standing operating procedure, and that we handled the business smoothly and continue to provide service to our existing customers that rely on the port, as well as those customers who we served there in interim from Maryland. So again, it just shows you the criticality of what the port is to the Commonwealth and obviously to the surrounding states. So we'll continue to track that and continue to track the continued, reconstruction and the movement of the Dahlia. There's still a lot of moving pieces out there. And so there'll definitely be a lot of media coverage continued around Baltimore. The state of the port was held a few weeks back. I want to thank Councilman Hugel for joining, and also Brian Donahue, Vice Mayor and Mayor, both were there at the event. This is an event put on by the Hampton Roads Global Commerce Club, and it's an annual event to kind of give that state of the port update from our executive director, Stephen Edwards, to the community. And obviously, a lot of things highlighted in that presentation. Of course, Baltimore and serving as a good neighbor, but also our efforts to become America's most modern gateway. As you know, here in Portsmouth, we have a semi-automated container handling facility, VIG, and NIT, we have very similar type of operation, but that's not something that we're just proud of. It's really showing the industry and our customers how this technology is helping maintain fluidity and velocity and moving cargo through the supply chain. And so that's something I think as a port, as a community, we should be very proud of having something that's really on the cutting edge of supply chain and moving of shipping containers. No one's doing it like Virginia. And so really getting that message out there, matching that with a sustainability message. The port is a very sustainable operation, and we continue to focus our efforts around making sure that, of course, we're sustainable operationally and financially, but also that environmental sustainability. And so, we highlighted some of our efforts around our initiative to drive to a carbon-free sort of operation by that 2040 deadline or date that we've put out there publicly, and some of the efforts that we've taken, like a power purchase agreement with Dominion Energy to purchase green renewable energy from them, as well as from co-op up in the Northern Shenandoah Valley. So that's something that, again, we just highlighted the fact that as of first of this year, we as a port, all the electricity we're consuming within our operation is coming from renewable sources. So again, another chance to showcase that. Efforts at PMT are going very well. We're about 25% completion on that construction project. I think we had a very successful outload of the Orion. That was the vessel that was tied up, and I'd probably be back any day. I hadn't looked today, so if it's here today, I apologize, but it should be coming back soon for another outload. I think there's about 16 outloads scheduled for the Orion, and this is the monopile vessel that takes the big metal pieces that are currently at PMT and takes them out to the installation field and actually installs them there at the bottom of the ocean, in the ocean floor. That is underway as we speak. So just go see that throughout the summer. Every 6, 7, 8 days, the Orion will be back in to take another set of 6 monopiles back out to the installation area there for Dominion Energy's CVAL project. So again, going very well. We did receive TPs. Those are transition pieces, not toilet paper. You'll see them on the terminal. They're painted yellow, so they're stood up vertically. So if you drive by PMT anytime soon, you'll start seeing some of those yellow pieces. Those are the transition pieces. So that's the next piece that goes on top of the monopiles once they're installed there in the floor of the ocean. And so TP, they kind of put the monopiles in, and they'll come back and cap them with the TPs and then continue to construct the entire wind turbine. So it's cool to always see new pieces coming in. And again, that'll be a regular rotation now for the next 24, 36 months of activity tied to the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project happening there at PMT. And then just final, appreciate the mayor's state of the city. The blue economy is real, and that's sort of how I want to end it. I mean, I think that's where the PPIC, the Port of Virginia, the City of Portsmouth Economic Development Team, leveraging such a unique asset and attribute of the City of Portsmouth. That's our waterfront, and really driving economic development, economic growth. There's so much untapped potential. There's a lot of activity underway. I think there's tremendous growth and upside. And so that messaging by the mayor at the state of the city really resonates for those that are us who are in the space of, leveraging maritime related industry to our communities and to our Commonwealth. I think that's spot on. And it really, again, I think it resonates to what we're seeing out there in the marketplace, because it's one thing to have waterfront, of course, we talk about that, but to have a thriving industrial waterfront matched with community that embraces the waterfront, matched with a workforce that can support those industries and activities is pretty exciting time. And so I think we continue to carry that message forward, working with Brian's team on how we've got a maritime real ecosystem taking place here. And there's gonna be, I think, a tremendous, sort of uptick and upswing with everything going on in the city and around all these different, either the PMT or if it's Fairleads here in downtown. There's just a lot of exciting things going on the waterfront. And so it was good to carry that message forward. It's being heard, and I think it's going to resonate for opportunities here for the city. I'm happy to answer. I'll leave my remarks there, but happy to field any questions or concerns.
Any questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
I drive by the terminal at least 3 or 4 times a day, and
Yes.
I don't see I thought I'd see a whole bunch of workers down there. Is the number of people working there increased, with these offshore wind project? I mean, because it looks like it's just the biggest, a staging area for,
Yeah.
putting pre things that are pre-made together, and it looks like not too many people.
Yeah, so what you'll begin to see, especially as we get to the tail end of this calendar year and get to 25, you'll begin to see that ramp up of headcount because of the different components that will begin to arrive on terminal. At this point, you're correct. Your observation is accurate in that, a lot of this is staging, yet there are break bulk gangs. So the ILA that is associated with the movement of the product on terminal, along with the logistics partner, that workforce has had an uptick in activity and workload, and that will continue here throughout the summer months. But again, when we start seeing the tower sections, the actual the wind like they call it WTG, the wind turbine generation piece, the nacelle, the actual housing, those will have a significant number of folks associated with the, I'm not gonna say completion because they come in built, but I think there's constant Q&A quality assurance work that will happen within the Dominion piece. And so I know Dominion's been in front of the PPIC to talk about that, but a lot of those will be those sort of Dominion related jobs with their OEM. So I would, again, come 2025, I would expect to see an uptick in just the overall number of people they're working around those components on a daily frequent basis.
And my second question is, now that we got a deeper channel and it's two-way traffic, I mean, does that bring more business to you, or is this, because you're still in competition with the same port? So
Yeah,
I guess the question is, so what?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, first, the immediate so what is the savings of time. And so being able to kind of just work the vessels in a more efficient manner, like there's a 15% time savings that we're able to provide for the time and instances where you have two ultra large container vessels coming in and out of this harbor, which is frequent. I mean, we are very fortunate that there are a number of ULCVs calling here weekly. And so being able to have that two-way transit right there equates to about a 15% time savings, either on the inbound or outbound. Again, and that equates to, from an ocean carrier perspective, time is money. And so the less waiting they're doing and the more sailing, that's a benefit to them. I think as the time goes on, that's recognized by the ocean carriers, so that the Port of Virginia is an area where they're going to be able to be served quality, quickly, and at a cost effective fashion. That's a positive. And then subsequently, we start thinking about the depth. Exports always are heavier than imports typically on the container side. And so you think about these ULCVs, especially like the Dahlia, that was in Baltimore. I'm just using that as an example because it's recent, but that was a last out. Well, we have last outs here, and those ships in their last out in Virginia, if it's a 14,000 TEU vessel, we're putting 14,000 TEUs on that ship and trying to get it as heavy as possible so that the ocean carrier can enjoy the benefit of max utilization of that asset, the ship. And so again, as ships gradually begin to get larger, and we've seen a CMA vessel in this port over the 15,000 TEU mark. And as that number begins to increase, you think about that export and that last call, being able to get to load up those vessels as heavy as possible so the ocean carriers can benefit from a deep draft ship or that one harbor that enables that activity. So it's critically important, again, for the ocean carrier to maximize the benefit and resourcefulness of the vessels in their fleet. Now, for Virginia, the so what is, well, we obviously export a lot of grain and logs, and moving a lot of product out. Now, are there opportunities for enhanced finish value-added components? By all means, and I think that's something that we're always very much looking to expand upon, both at the state level. You have the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, and within that, they have a trade division, international trade division, where they're looking to support Virginia companies. And I know that Portsmouth businesses have been through the valet program, which is Virginia Leads Export Training or something. I don't know the acronym, but valet is what they call it. And again, it's all about enabling our Virginia companies to leverage the different resources and pieces of infrastructure like the port to access global markets. And so I think it ultimately it ties back to being a benefit to our existing businesses and to attract new businesses here to the Commonwealth, having a world-class port that is recognized for modern technology, but then obviously having the deepest, widest channels, that's a big deal.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. So
Yes, sir.
continuing to get complaints about pile driving till 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Is there any flexibility to knock off pile driving at like 8?
I'll take that back. I know there had been some discussions and, we'd had a dialogue with the ombudsman with the city. But let me reconnect on that and see, where there might be, ability to work on that. I can't, give that answer today, but I will run it by the team at Skanska and the PM to see, where we might be on that.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Just to, Chair, if I may, just a quick follow-up on the pile driving. I do believe they've also commenced some pile driving activities over in Norfolk at Lambert's Point recently. So there may be two projects going on at the same time where what some may think is coming from Portsmouth is originating in Norfolk as well. So I did recently become aware of that. I know there's been a lot of feedback from Norfolk about the pile driving. So some of that may be coming.
Or, I will say we have begun pile driving at North NIT. That's obviously, probably maybe the folks at Craney Island, so the mosquitoes and stuff might hear it, but, we have begun, some pile driving on the north side of Norfolk International Terminals because we are rebuilding the berth for that expansion too, just for awareness.
It's a great piece of information to tell us. So
So a lot of construction activity happening around the harbor right now.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we have an update on 3920, 3930 Burton's Point Road. Brian?
Yes, Chair, we do. I'm pleased to report that we do have a negotiated purchase agreement with Stonemont Financial Group. That is the developer of the proposed project at 3920, 3930 Burton's Point Road. So we received that back late yesterday, actually. And we're reviewing that to confirm that it's in its final form, but with that, it would be ready for your review and execution. We had previously, as a commission, had adopted a resolution to authorize the sale of that property. And we're now in position to execute the contract. So
it's pretty much unchanged from what we.
we've had, a few back and forths, but it's, I think, in line with our standard form. The terms are, typical terms that we need to require. So there are some provisions in there for due diligence period, permitting period, and then also a repurchase option as well that would become necessary. So kind of our, I don't want to say our boilerplate agreement, but our standard form with a few modifications to accommodate the specifics of the project.
And now we move on to 06th Street.
Yes, Chair, this is just an update to advise you that at your April meeting, you had authorized staff to move forward with the completion of a minor subdivision plat to consolidate the two properties that the housing authority is looking to transfer to the PPIC. There's also a right-of-way, almost like a paper street that bisects the two properties. That will be removed so that right-of-way will disappear. And this, consolidation is necessary again to bring the property to a marketable state. So that is underway. We're working with Wolpert, they're the consultant, and we hope to have within the next 30 to 60 days a completed minor subdivision plat for submission to the planning department. I do believe we'll need an action by city council to dedicate to remove the right of way, consolidate the property. We'll certainly keep you posted on that as it moves forward.
All right, next up.
Your next item is a presentation by Avangrid, renewable energy on the Kitty Hawk Wind Project. We're going to come back to this. The presenter is en route. So we are going to just move forward to the next item.
Our 2024 VMA International Trade Symposium.
And I'm going to ask Ms. Tracy to cover this site.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It is EMA time, or at least time to start thinking about it. May remember, some of you are members of our board last year, so the VMA 24 is coming up and it takes place here, October 8th through 10th. Just as a reminder, it is the premier conference on shipping, logistics, and trade. It addresses topics that most affect port operations and cargo logistics, drawing in attendees from around the globe. It has over 400 symposium attendees, over 600 mixer attendees, and over 800 banquet attendees. Last year, you provided a sponsorship of $3,500 as a banquet table sponsor. And this year, we have more sponsorship opportunities. This is the full chart of what is available. The banquet table last year did not get you symposium. Okay, so available sponsorship opportunities. This year, we are hoping that you'll join us in being a regional sponsor. The early bird rate, which is only available through the 31st of this month, is $11,000, but not only will you get 3 admissions to the symposium, 3 mixer admissions, 3 banquet admissions, and 2 admissions to the golf tournament. Somebody in here has to play golf, right? Because I miss the golf ball every time I've tried. We will sit at an exhibitor table, and then we also get your logo, which the PPIC does have a logo, at the location. So it'll be at the symposium. It will be on the mobile app for the symposium. It will be on the website and all of their email blasts. And then it'll also be in their periodical publication. So you will have branding recognition. And then you'll also be able to sponsor as part of the package. We can choose between the mixer, the continental breakfast, the networking break, or the charging table. And that would be split between our department and the PPIC. So it's an even split of 5,500. Anything you want to add, Brian?
Yeah, I can just add to that. So this is a recommendation. We're looking to kind of increase our exposure. Chris had mentioned the mayor, state of the city, and really the discussion of Portsmouth being the center of the region's blue economy. So as a department, we're looking to increase our profile within the region and outside the region. I mean, this is really an international forum, so there are a lot of companies present throughout the state of Virginia, beyond, and globally. And we're really looking to kind of raise awareness of what we're doing here at Portsmouth. So we are interested in participating at a regional level. What we propose is just a 50-50 split that we felt would give the commissioners an opportunity to participate throughout the symposium, as opposed to just having some seats at the banquet. So certainly open for discussion and whichever direction you want to go. But we felt like this was the most all-inclusive offering, where we would have the opportunity to really promote Portsmouth, and then also items where you all are able to participate in person.
I do have my feelings on it, but I prefer to hear from the commissioners first.
Can you remind me what's in our budget for this type of expense? So we don't have that in front of us.
So for, typically what you all utilize would be your business development line, which for FY 25, you have allocated $15,000 for the year.
Okay.
And this, I would say, is probably the largest event that we would be looking at in terms of port-related maritime events that would be on the agenda for the year.
And so you talk about the trade-off analysis between, this and the other things you might want to go to. Where does this fall? Right at the top of the list?
I think so. Yeah, certainly. This is, by far, I think the largest, gathering in Virginia. And it's held here in Hampton Roads. So, this is, I think, for us, as staff and for the PPIC, this is probably at the top of the list. I mean, our department does some travel and engagement beyond that, but this is probably the big one, I guess, for Virginia and Hampton Roads.
Madam Treasurer?
Yeah, my concern is for $11,000 is only, for each event is only, besides the golf, is only 3 participants. So between the commissioners and the staff, we gotta choose which 3 is gonna go to each event. Is that what is that correct?
I think what we would propose is that there are 3 commissioners that would like to attend one of these events. You're able to do that. Staff would have the ability to attend on its own, at its own expense. So,
Mr. Foster?
I've attended it before with host and other companies. So it is a great event. Just hope that the PPIC could get something out of it if we do attend on this level.
I'm gonna share my thoughts, in our pre-agenda meeting when we spoke about this. I would like, I am not in favor of the 5,500, funding request. I feel we did a table sponsorship last year. Table wasn't full. I do understand the importance of attending these events. I'd like to see what a lower sponsorship would look like. Do we have that option available? Or the below the regional, what are our options, period?
Everything is available. We're still in the early bird sponsorship stage
Until the end of this week.
until the 31st. Yeah.
Is there options that you can send out to us for us to review? So we can, get an answer back to you rather quickly?
Sure.
Unless it's the will of everyone else that we go with the 5,500. However you wish to proceed, of course, but I wanted to make sure that, we have all of the information of what we could offer, what we could do, as opposed to just a $5,500 request.
what we would be able to do is we can just circulate. It's obviously kind of hard to make out here on the screen. We can circulate
See that.
the listing of all the different levels of sponsorship, and then with your consensus, we can certainly go in that direction, whichever that might be.
And where is this located?
The event is held in Norfolk at the Hilton Main.
Yeah, and I attended last year, so I mean, it's a wonderful event. But I want to make sure if we're putting out those kinds of dollars that we're actually participating in the event. And then we're doing it on a larger scale, making sure that we're participants, full participants, or if it's not going to be a full participatory situation, what can we do to be engaged, but also be mindful of the dollars that we're spending? Councilman, you have any thoughts on this?
I do not.
Just throwing it out there.
Madam Chair, we will go ahead and circulate the list, and then with your feedback, let us know what
Okay,
what
Thank
direction
you.
you want to go.
so once the list is circulated, if we can, when is the 31st? The 31st.
Friday.
Friday?
Friday.
And,
And the business on Thursday,
Mhm.
please, so we can kind of, I know that's cutting it under the gun, but I want to make sure that you have time to receive it and review it.
And can we see the agenda too?
I don't think you'll have this year's agenda. It's probably too early for that. We can see if we can maybe pull up this year's agenda. They may have that available. And we can circulate that.
And is there any information on the return for investment to PTIC for attending? Have we gotten any new business or anything that, and I know I'm asking you that on the fly, but if there's something that if there's any information that we may have.
Yeah, we can certainly look and see and
Okay.
get back to you on that.
Thank you.
And, Madam Chair, I think, also, we probably need to think about when we're making this decision. If we're not gonna have the participation like last year, I think I can attend. If we're gonna pay $5,500, either way, it may be best to consider the 11,000 so that, the staff could go as well and represent it. I mean, Brian probably play golf or whatever, but you know, and so
Understood.
considering both options, because we're not gonna get total participation just at the banquet,
Mhm.
you know, might need to consider both. It's still $5,500 either way. I wouldn't go to that nightcap. I know I'm not going.
Probably not either, and I'm not a golfer, but, I do appreciate that. So, we'll look at, last year from the participation, you know, how many, leads perhaps were generated from that, and then also, get this information out to you, Chair.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I think Mr. Gullickson had,
I just wanted to make an observation too. I believe I saw, and I don't have details, there's another sort of add-on activity with this year's symposium, a bulk event. And so maybe we can share that too, because I think, they're adding more to it. You know, it's the symposium plus this new, event taking place. Again, more of a captive audience in our backyard here in our harbor. So I just make note of that maybe as a additional follow-up item.
Thank you.
I think it's October 10th is when that bulk event is happening.
Okay.
thank you, Chris.
Yeah, no.
Any other discussion on this item?
So I guess I just need to ask a question. As I was driving all the way out to the Virginia Beach oceanfront to attend the State of the Port, I was wondering, why the heck am I driving a half hour, 45 minutes east of the port to go to the State of the Port? So have we considered, other than spending this money, considered challenging Virginia Beach to be the presenting sponsor for the State of the Port? What would that entail?
That's been a recent, conversation. In fact, as Chris had pointed out, I think years ago, at one time, the State of Port, I believe, was held in Portsmouth at the Renaissance. And then had been at the Marriott in Norfolk for a number of years. So, we can look into that. I believe there was a large sponsorship requirement for that to happen, which, Virginia Beach was, the lead sponsor for this year's and last year's State of the Port. So we can look into those details and see what that would entail. Be great to have it here in Portsmouth, certainly closer to the port. All the activity. We'll research there.
I can always connect you with the Renaissance if you, I'm sure you have a comment. Okay. All right. I see Ms. McLeod has joined us.
I
Good
am
morning.
here. How are you all doing?
Doing good.
Good. Are you
Thank
ready
for
for
joining
me?
us. I think we are.
Okay, great.
Actually, do you have any presentation?
You know what? I can do acoustic version.
Perfect.
I love
Yeah.
acoustic.
You
Yeah.
can
Let's
join
get
us at the table,
Okay, great.
or if you prefer to stand, we can even,
Well, in
drag
order
out
to
the
see me over
podium,
the chairs, I probably
whatever
have
you'd
to
like to do.
stand.
We have a seat right here at the head of the table. We can, next to Councilman Hugel, we can.
I'm easy. So, yeah, let me just go ahead and thank you for allowing me to, you readjusting your agenda for me. So we'll just take some of these and pass them around. I have project sheets. I have economic development, kind of sheets. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
And I probably should keep one for myself to make sure I know what it is. And then I just want to give you guys a chance to ask me questions about the project. Let's see, this one I think is silly. Okay, take this. I think I've done this sort of maybe correctly.
All right.
Okay, here, let me actually, I'm gonna grab those for myself, just so I know what I'm presenting on. Where did this?
You?
You guys are great at this. Here, I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
hand you these in case you run out. You're quite good at that, so you have more of them. So, and thank you for Chris for coordinating this for me. I am very appreciative of this. So I'm Ashley McLeod, and I have been working with Avangrid since 2020. They recruited me from the Maritime Association back during COVID, and I don't know that I would ever switch jobs during COVID again, but that's, another story for another day. So the project, were you even aware there was a second opportunity for an offshore wind project?
Yes.
So of course, CVOW is getting going and we're super, super excited, but having multiple projects just provides more opportunities for all of our region, all of the companies, and for the environment as well. So what we've done here for you is Kitty Hawk. The worst thing they ever did was name it Kitty Hawk because people believe that it's a North Carolina project only, and that's not the case. So if you look at the project sheet, which is the more beige color one that looks like this, there's a map that shows you where the Kitty Hawk Wind's lease area is. It's about the same size. It's actually about 10,000 acres larger than the CVOW project. But it's 27 miles straight out from Corolla. And then it's about 36 miles, nautical miles to get to the Sandbridge, Virginia Beach area. So they named it Kitty Hawk thinking that was nostalgic with the Wright brothers and wind and all of that kind of thing. But as I've shared, it's added a little bit of confusion because people think the power is just going to directly go into North Carolina. The truth of the matter is that to go straight into the Outer Banks Kitty Hawk area, there isn't the infrastructure there. And so that is why, so when we looked at where to bring the power ashore, you look at all of those things. You look at the locations where you can make the interconnection, all the environmental issues. And there is a really, 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 really long process in going through all of the environmental protection agencies and all of those type of things. So when they looked at everything, CVOW is going to the State Military Reserve as a landfall. So we would have loved that as well because it's off the beaten path. There's not residents, those kind of things, or less residents around there surrounding. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but as a result of the fact that you have Damnick and Oceana as you're coming in from the area into Sandbridge, the DOD has stuff in the water that they can't tell us where it is in order for us to design around it. So it becomes a no-go zone. So we basically could not go any further north in the Sandbridge type of area and looking for a landfall location. And so that is where we looked at the Sandbridge area. So, so what we're working on right now is still working with the city of Virginia Beach. We have a parcel that has been purchased and we've been paying on in the corporate landing area to where we would build our substation. And that's right by an interconnect to the Dominion energy grid. They oversee it. It's to the PJM to as far as attaching to the grid. And it's overseen by Dominion and it's right there. So it's a short distance, only about 7 miles in from the once you get ashore. So it environmentally impacts the least number of people and wetlands and just environmentally overall. We're looking to bring the power in under through horizontal directional drilling, just like the CVOW projects, like offshore wind projects do. This is what they all do. And when we would come ashore, we would then keep everything underground. So there's a lot of misinformation out there. And if I can make one plea to economic development departments all over, whether it's city or regional, whatever, is to help dispel the myths that are out there. Because once it hits Facebook, it's the professors of Facebook and they just go for it and it becomes quite fun. But so we are doing everything below ground, but there are folks who do have concerns with electromagnetic fields, concerned that, if those type of things for their health conditions, rightfully so, concerned with, are the trenching that's going to be done and things like that, how is the environmental impact? We've already worked with Lynn Haven River Now, and Karen Forget and her team have sent a letter of support for our project to the City Council of Virginia Beach, as is the Back Bay Restoration Foundation. So we've got good environmental groups that understand that the bit of disruption is much smaller than the benefits of overall of what offshore wind brings to the environment as well as our energy independence. So, so what we're looking to do is bring in the parking lot that's owned by the city of Virginia Beach. We have everything taken care of offshore. We have the corporate landing to connect onshore. We have the franchise agreements with the city to do it, be in the rights of way to go and lay the cable to connect. We just need the place to plug them both into each other. And the parking lot that's owned by the city south of the marketplace, most people know the Sandbridge Market. That is a city-owned parking lot, and are asking the city to grant us easements to go and allow us to go and put our joint transition bays there, where you connect everything offshore and onshore together. And it's required to go and do it during the off season, so it'd be an October to an April timeframe, so that it's as little disruptive to the tourism industry as possible. So what we wanted to do, so that's just a quick overview of it. There'll be up to 176 turbines out there. We have divided into two areas, Kitty Hawk North and Kitty Hawk South. But we're looking to go and put the joint transition bays all in one season, so it's only one disruption to the Sandbridge community. And that the pathway would along the roadways would literally be along the roadways, and everything, when it's all said and done, everything is below the ground for us. So we wanted to go and do a little bit deeper dive. Chris has been involved with this one from the get-go, since at least 2020 and before probably. But we did an economic impact study back in 2019 that was really to help support the Virginia Clean Economy Act. And so we just redid it because that was only a 10-year study through construction. So what we did, and what you have in front of you here, where it's got the $4.8 billion, that is an updated study done by Chimura, which is a Richmond-based company. They did an economic impact study focusing on the 40-year lifespan of the project. So this would be from what we've been in development through construction into the operation phase. So the state of Virginia can benefit from having this second project, $4.8 billion over 40 years. And $4 billion of that is right here in Hampton Roads. So on that sheet, it's an opportunity to go and just kind of break it down. We know that during construction, it's going to be 1.5 billion here specifically in Virginia, and then 3 billion during the operation. So the longest part of it is when we actually make the larger amount, whether it's revenue or property taxes and that type of sales tax revenues and that. So it's on the back that kind of breaks it down for the city of Virginia Beach, because that's where the property of our substations we've discussed. How Hampton Roads, additional localities, which can include Portsmouth as well, and then the Commonwealth overall. So this is just kind of a breakdown of those numbers. Our full study is on our website, and I can make sure that I give it to Brian and Chris, and they can circulate it to all of you, so it's an easy PDF for you to read versus having to track it down on our website. But the other benefit, of course, comes in jobs. And that is, and I need to borrow that, Chris, because I grabbed two of the same one. So on this chart, I really like this chart the best of all of them. So it's a little bit tricky. I will let you know that back in 2017 or 18, when I was still working at the Maritime Association, the state of Virginia put out, like 14,000 jobs would be created by offshore wind. And that wasn't explained very well even back then. So over a course of years, that is probably the total FTE type of thing, full-time equivalents that would be there. But it's not 12,000 people. I mean, goodness gracious, you're all businesses are probably needing employees right now too. So we know we have staffing shortages or a variety of places. But so what we tried to do is break this down to show you during construction is what obviously when we be employing the most folks. So, but this graph shows you in the orange, it's the spending in millions over the course of 40 years, and the blue dotted line is the employment during that time. So it shows that here during the early stages of development, it's been me and engineers and, doing stakeholder outreach and the project designers and that kind of thing. But as you get into the construction, that's when you're going to have more employees, and then it will go and level off through operation and maintenance and continue. But the nice part is it's going to be between 100 and 200 people for a very long majority of the folks doing operation and maintenance and the other things that way. So this kind of shows you that we try to put it in a variety of different ways, whether it's pie graphs, it depends on how you're the visual learner that you are to take the information in. But the good news is over the course of 40 years, we're looking here at, near 10,000 jobs equivalent, direct or indirect. So smaller businesses will benefit from the businesses they get that way too. So I think what I'd like to do, and Chris can always prompt a question because he's most familiar, but I'm gonna pause and let you ask me questions about the project and what more you would like to know.
Any questions?
Here, if I could just hop in.
Please.
Ashley, thanks again for agreeing to come in and present and I guess really kind of bring us up to speed on where the project stands. We're looking forward to it moving forward.
Thank you.
Through whatever processes are lying ahead in Virginia Beach. So just a couple questions in terms of impact to other Hampton Roads localities like Portsmouth. What if, when the project does move forward, what would we expect to see?
Sure. Well, you guys have a good workforce that you're developing here just for as far as jobs go with the welding and all the different things and the training that's going on. Your Hampton Roads Workforce Council is doing an amazing job of making sure they're teeing up all your offshore wind techs and those type of things. So there's one. But there also are other parcels that are in discussion, and people keep letting us know that they reach out to us, letting us know that that would be available for lay down for areas, things like that. You've got PMT here, you host the offshore wind terminal. And so the interesting part too is because Dominion is starting the CVAL project, ours would be next in line as far as if we got the timing all right. So the great part is that would then benefit also because then we would likely, that's an offshore opportunity to use that terminal as well. So that's a good example of how it would be that for Portsmouth specifically. I just think that all of your maritime businesses, which we have a plethora up here, whether it's Dan Stevens over at Port Royal Crane, there's just a variety of businesses that will benefit from the work that comes along. We've spent at the bottom of our website, there is a place for vendors to go and actually register with our company. And so, so some of our companies, you have the opportunity we have 3 other projects in New England. We have Vineyard Wind. So our company is the first company to build an offshore wind project off the East Coast. So the Vineyard Wind project is ours. And then we have 2 parcels, New England Wind 1 and New England Wind 2. So we have 2 that are also developing as well. So this is our 4th offshore project. And so that, as we build, and this is where Chris knows I get into that, I love the economic development part. I love offshore wind, but I love Virginia and Hampton Roads more. And what the opportunities that it brings is that, the more projects we have here, the more that we can support our companies to be able to invest and develop, the more opportunities they have. So those projects, and there's more that are going to be off Maryland than that. So Portsmouth has a lot of opportunity. Companies will come if we have multiple projects closer to this area. They will build and they will come here. So that is how you guys could be the most helpful, is to recognize that and encourage your local governments and your state governments to say, this is a good thing, the more projects we have. We know that beyond east of the CVAL project, there's another parcel that will be up for auction hopefully by 3rd quarter of this year. Right now, they're deciding whether they break it into 2 lease areas or keep it as 1. If they break it into 2 lease areas, it's going to be that the same developer can't purchase both parcels. So that means you're going to learn to work with other companies. So, as far as finding their headquarters and where they'd be, putting their office buildings and things like that. So there's a big plethora of opportunity. And I'd love to keep, like, maybe once a quarter, make sure I'm on your calendar to come in and give you guys an update as things progress. But next step for us is making sure we have that easement in Virginia Beach, and then when we can keep designing forward.
So thank you for that. And that
You're
was
welcome.
my follow-up question is your process and what lies ahead in terms of approvals. The permit, I guess, that you need from Virginia Beach.
The approval and easement.
So how, as an organization, can we support that effort? Is there a way that we?
Sure. I think that anytime that you're visiting with any of the council members in Virginia Beach or other companies, so that, that would be great. There'll be a point where we need to go to public hearing. I would love to, anyone who would love to come speak at that, but I could also make sure that you guys know when is the appropriate time, when it's coming closer to that, to go send a letter of support and those kind of things. But if you, happen to run into council members, you can let them know how much you look forward to having a second offshore wind project here as well.
If I, your chart of combined total economic impact, if I were to superimpose the the Dominion, what, project on this chart, what would it look like?
Basically, it runs the same. I mean, so you got two projects that are gonna bring about the same amount of revenue. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
I guess the synchronization of the
Yeah.
two projects, because there's only so many people to go around.
Sure, yeah. So what's happening is they're building right now. And we won't even get to, because we're behind, we haven't received the easement and a few other things. Because of that, we can't start any sooner than 2 years from now. So about the time they would finish is about the time that we would actually start being able to start construction, which actually works beautifully if you think about it. This, in Ashley's opinion, this allows longevity for the industry, not a bunch of jobs at one time or a bunch of projects at one time. This allows for consistency, and it takes a dozen years at least to actually get from when you purchase the lease area to start construction, because Dominion purchased the CVAL lease area in 2013, am I right, or 14? And we purchased in 2017, and we assume that hopefully in 2027 is when we might get to start construction. So it makes it kind of nice. They want to be done and operational in 26. And then by the time they're doing that, we should just be able to spill right in and have the next project. Spill maybe isn't the best word to use, but progress right into it. So it allows for longevity.
And is your project like an instant replay to the Dominion project?
What do you mean instant replay?
Is it
The
same-
processes?
Yeah, same process?
Same process, same permitting thing, all of those type of things, but it'll vary just based on landfall. When you're out in your wind energy areas or where the corridor comes, and I am not an engineer and I am not a geologist, but I've learned a lot in 4 years. There are different soil impacts where the pilings go in, the monopiles and that, so that can impact. So it's not just, rinse and repeat type of one, but it is extremely similar. Fishing community loves the projects. I think you've probably heard Dominion talk about that as well. They have tons of sea bass around the two test pilots there, but the commercial vessels can get through this. It's been designed, they're about a mile and by 3/4 mile apart. We've worked with the Coast Guard, all the design worked that way. And the charters, except for during construction and that, charters, recreational fishermen and all that will be able to go into the wind energy area, which I think is an important thing for us to remember. We actually are paying very close attention because a lot of the recreational folks off of the Outer Banks, out of the Oregon Inlet, are really paying close attention to that. So we have fishery reps here. You might know Daniel LeGrand, who used to work with Chris at the port. He is our fishery rep. And then down in Outer Banks, we have two fishery reps down there that work with the fishermen and bring information and concerns back to us so that we know how to address them. So.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Chris.
I'll just make an observation, maybe Ashley can build on two things. I mean, I think to my update, this is part of that blue economy. And so, yes, the interconnect and the issue that lies before the project currently is in Sandbridge, but thinking about all of that support and ancillary services and expertise and skill set, it comes from this community and the communities that are here within the harbor, as well as Virginia Beach, of course. But I think that is part of the sort of energy or synergy that we see on the horizon for decades to come around the maritime workforce and economic development opportunities that exist. And so I think just thank you, very timely. But then I was hoping maybe actually you could comment on some of the community engagement efforts that, again, to your point, Avangrid's already begun building up in the Northeast and areas like Massachusetts. Maybe you can hit on some of the community engagement activities that your organization has taken to sort of demonstrate being a corporate citizen.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I actually like about the company is that they are very philanthropic and they really do give back to the community. So one of the things while we've been here specifically that I've been able to do is contribute. It's nice to go and have someone else I get to go and say, hey, let me help you spend your money. But the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, the Lynn Haven River Now, all of the environmental groups we have here sponsoring various events and things like that. But up north, some of the things that have been beneficial, and I know that this is part of our plan as well. So going from where it's landing in Barnstable in Martha's Vineyard area, going into where the substation is going to be. It's a much longer route up there, but some of the things they're doing along the way is they needed a new sewer system along there. And so they're making those type of things work. So while that wouldn't be directly a Portsmouth thing, but it's still showing you when we're doing these things, we'll do the upgrades that are necessary to make it happen simultaneously when at all possible and things like that. So if we were to, and this is all speculation, but if we were to purchase a parcel over here for an operation and maintenance type of thing, that's how it would benefit the communities. So as far as that goes, is the investment that they would make in the area. We, Salem, up in Massachusetts, they have, there's an old coal plant there, and that actually is being made into an offshore wind terminal. We've invested into that. Prismium, we helped bring them up there in order to help with some of the cabling. So that is the other benefits that our company is based at the mothership, as I call it, is out of Spain, out of Madrid, Spain. It's Iberdrola. They've been building, doing renewable energy in Europe for decades. So this is very similar to what they do there, and they're bringing it right here. So you come with a history and understanding of decades of renewable energy and offshore wind specific experience. And that's what they know is a good thing to do when you can benefit the community all around. Because one of the things I love is that it's a silly, but that aesthetically, we're putting everything below ground because everything is underground. It still can be accessed. It has the, the ability to go down in there and do that. But as far as environmentally, it's good for the environment, energy independence, and we're paying attention to how it looks in the community as well. So.
Do you have a Jones Act compliant ship? Or are you going to use the one that Dominion built?
So actually, it's great that, Dominion was smart to go and build that. So I can't speak to who will contract, but that's the same. It has to be Jones compliant. So yeah, that's just a note, not an option there. We have to have a Jones compliant. I will tell you what's happening up north for the Vineyard Wind project, because there hasn't been a Jones compliant installation vessel. They actually are going into Canada and having to barge it down. And it's working, but that's not the best scenario. So that's why it's great that we're getting vessels.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah. Great Lakes Dock and Dredge is building, another installation vessel. You've got the Orion, which is Demi. Actually, the gentleman who's president of Demi now for offshore wind installation was my former boss. So it's still a lot of synergy with understanding the industry there. So, but so you're right, but it has to be a Jones compliant act. So having the, I never can say the name of it. Sure. Cryptis is a good thing that it's being built so that we have that option here. So again, another great reason to stack projects on top of each other. Do one installation and we're ready to go for another. I hope that was helpful.
It was. Thank you so much. Councilman?
So you're exactly right. When I sat down this morning, if you'd have given me a quiz on what is Kitty Hawk about, I'd have said energy into North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So is the public engagement low key at this point because you don't have the approvals? And the reason I'm asking, if we're gonna pump the mayor's blue economy message up, I don't think anybody in Portsmouth, except the people sitting in this room, maybe know
That's fair.
that Kitty Hawk is coming right behind CBOW in terms of construction and what that potentially could mean to.
So that's fair. I think the businesses that are like more that are actively seeking out offshore wind are familiar with it, because I participate in the VMA's offshore wind committee and a lot of those type of things. So I think it's fair. John Q. Public maybe doesn't know. Now that we've got the monopiles over at PMT and they're seeing all this, now people are understanding. And I kind of teased Joel Rubin. I'm like, you've convinced everybody the turbines are already out there. But no, that's fair. And so we have concentrated, a lot of my time has been spent specifically in Virginia Beach, because that's that part of getting the easements in order to do that. I've spent more time in the region speaking to folks like you, economic development and other businesses and things like that. But to have John Q. Public also share that this is something that they see as a benefit to the region, whether it's the economic impacts, the job opportunities, or just because of the environmental benefits and energy independence, all great reasons for them to go and reach out. Also, remember your Virginia Clean Economy Act that the General Assembly passed back in 2020. So in order to accomplish that, it's 5.2 gigawatts is what they said during that. So you'll need more than one project. So whether it's the additional projects that come, from, or the energy from Kitty Hawk or from Area C that's up for bid, that is to be seen how we will accomplish it. I don't want to lead you the wrong way. If the Kitty Hawk, south especially, it would be a very long passageway, but that does not mean that we're not still looking at opportunities to take the energy into North Carolina, but it would just be a very long route. So economically, you look for it's LCOE, the lowest cost of energy, and it actually is more efficient for us for the cost of energy to come into Virginia. Also because PJM, which stands for Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland, but there's 13 states involved in it. I always try to feel like I have to say, what does PJM mean? It makes no sense when you just, but that's to connect to the grid. So even there is no connection in North Carolina to get on the major grid of PJM. That would be in Virginia. That's also another benefit as far as that goes. So we, even if the power was a renewable energy contract to go to another state, a virtual power purchase agreement per se, the nice part is Virginia would still benefit from all the economics of the actual project coming ashore here and making the connection to the grid here.
When will you make the decision on where you're gonna stage your construction from? Is that decision already been made?
No, yes and no. I know that we already had our port team here. They've spent a lot of time here. It really would depend on where actually the interconnect would take place. That'll make a big difference. Yes, it's a very good question.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to get out ahead of you in
Yep.
advertising the
Exactly.
potential, but on the other hand, as soon as we know that we're a player in this, we want to include that in our,
Yeah, absolutely. Your portfolio.
yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I'd also be happy when the time is right, our vice president of offshore wind will be, comes down here to speak to folks, and I'm happy to bring him here so you can ask, and our engineers to ask a lot of those kind of questions as well. Getting into the depth that I can't. All right, thank you so much.
Thank
All right,
you.
I appreciate
Thank
you.
you so much.
Christine, one of these.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, our next item submitted by commissioners. I do not believe that we have any, correct?
I'm sure we had not received any prior to the meeting, but.
Okay. So on to report back, Springy Island.
Thank you, Chair. We do have a couple of items just to follow up on. The first is Crane Island. This was a item that was introduced by Mr. Peterman. I want to say back at your April meeting, and we've had some follow-up communications with the Army Corps of Engineers, specifically Michael Anderson, who's the Chief Design Officer in the design section of the Army Corps. He is in contact with his leadership to see about coming before you at a future meeting to discuss the future plans for Crane Island. So we're just waiting to hear back on when that might be and who might be participating. I think we've had some other conversations with Chris and the port about their ability to participate in the conversation. They do have some long-term plans for Crane Island, so we will be looking to kind of maybe get on both of those potentially at the same time, but we are waiting for Mr. Anderson's response on his participation.
And he didn't give you a win yet.
No, sir, he did not. I think he had expressed he had to get leadership, I guess, get probably what would be an approval, and then who exactly would be attending it.
And the next one is BML FOIA training.
Yeah, a lot of acronyms there. So I'm going to turn this over to Karen Williams and ask her to update you all on, I think, an item that is a requirement of your position here on the
Yes, sir.
commission.
As appointed officials and commissioners, you're required every 2 years to take a FOIA training every 2 years, and then conflict of interest. The Virginia Municipal League this year has made it convenient for you if you're interested. On June 26th, they've actually asked representatives from these councils to actually come and present to all the elected and appointed officials. There is a $50 charge though for both of these classes, and it is in Richmond. I think they're going to present before lunch and then after lunch. Now, I will also let you know that these trainings are available virtually online, free of charge. So, the FOIA, you literally have to log on, and that you'll go through a slide presentation and you'll have a certificate that will be printed, and given to the clerk. Now, the conflict of interest, actually, I could assist with that if you would like, to where I could organize a training. And basically, there's not a certificate that you receive. It's just an acknowledgement, with the Ethics Council that you have certified and taking your training. And it's literally every 2 years. So once we can get everyone trained and I say every 2 years, if you've already taken the training, you'll be within whatever time period that you are within your training. But if you've not taken it, then we do need to get you certified, and then we just move forward.
Thank you.
Just an item of interest. So I went to BML's FOIA Koya right after I was seated on council. When I got back, Deborah White told us that who attended, sorry, but they did something wrong and the training doesn't count. And so now you need to go do the online thing to get your check in the
That's
box.
interesting.
So you might want to talk with Deborah to find out, do we know for sure that VML has fixed whatever they did wrong when I sat in their FOIA Koya? Because I spent the day in Richmond, came home, and then spent another 3 hours online getting my check in the box.
But she actually forwarded this information to me, and to Brian, saying that it is eligible,
Okay,
for elected and appointed officials. And again, you can go for the day, which is a full registration, or you can go just for the classes, which are, it's $50 total, to attend. But yes, sir, it is a valid,
Okay.
training.
It's about 3 hours.
the FOIA was, about 3 hours, end of the day, yeah, so.
Okay.
But again, it is available online, free of charge.
And the online thing is about 3 hours to get both of them done.
You do have funding in your budget under your training line for this. So that we can cover this. Desire to travel, that would be just something we need to have the board make a decision on.
So when do we have to have this done?
The deadline.
As soon as possible.
Well,
Because
June 26th is the actual in-person, so, you know, we would say no later than that. But we can get a definitive deadline this way.
Thank you.
So if you could please just, you know, let Ms. Williams know that you're planning to do it online or.
In person?
Yeah, in-person participation, just need to know.
Okay. All righty.
Could I ask, did you learn anything more online than you did by attending?
I didn't learn anything more. I didn't learn anything less. It was basically the same set of slides online as we had in the classroom. And I couldn't even tell you why I didn't get credit for sitting in the classroom, except I got awarded the opportunity to spend another 3 hours at my computer screen to get credit. And that's the important thing, getting credit.
Anything else, Brian?
Just one last item. This Thursday, May 30th, we will be having a business networking event that we are holding in partnership with the Hampton Roads Chamber and our Portsmouth division. That is going to be held at Time on the River on High Street on the waterfront. I believe you should have received an email with an invitation to that. You need to register if you're interested. There is a limited capacity openings for that. I think we're close to having it sold out, if not already sold out, but please follow up with us if you're interested. You have the link, we can resend that to you as well. And that'll be from 5 to 7:30.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
Thank you. The time is now 10:13. Everybody have a good month. See you next month. This meeting is adjourned.